Clubhouse, an app that has been hyped to the moon with celebrities like Elon Musk and Oprah Winfrey joining it. It even got $100 million in investments from Andreessen Horowitz at a $1 billion valuation. And yet the app is dead now, and there are multiple reasons for that. In this video, we're going to explain what Clubhouse was, how it took off, why it failed, and most importantly, what business lessons we can take away from it. Now let's get into it. First, let's talk about what Clubhouse was. So it was an audio chat app where people could join different rooms where people were discussing various topics. The craziest part about it is that you couldn't see anyone. It was just audio and text. And the only way that you could interact was through raising your hand virtually, and then the host would call on you to speak. Other than that, you could only listen. If you wanted to, you could also leave the room or send text messages in the room. That's pretty much it. Now the question is, how did it take off? Well, first of all, timing. It launched right when everyone was tired of video calls. Zoom fatigue was real, and people just wanted to have some kind of social interaction. But not only that, people were also trapped at home because of the pandemic. So they had time and they had interest. Second, FOMO. Because many celebrities like Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, former US presidents, Barack Obama, and more recently, Mark Zuckerberg jumped on the app, everyone wanted to be part of it. They wanted to see what was going on. And third, exclusivity. Only iPhone users could download the app. It was invite only. You needed invitations. You needed to have a verified account. And this created a sense of scarcity, which made it even more exclusive and appealing. And if something is exclusive, we tend to want it more. So these three factors, timing, FOMO, and exclusivity, led to massive growth. In fact, within 4 months of launching, they hit 10 million users. Within 5 months, they reached 15 million monthly active users. So it grew extremely quickly. But the problem is that it never solved a real pain point. The pain point here was the pandemic. People were bored at home. They wanted to socialize. But the moment the pandemic ended and people went back to their normal lives, Clubhouse lost its appeal. Second, it was iOS only. Android users couldn't use it. So half the population couldn't even try the app. And third, there was no money to be made. There were no ads. There were no premium features. The company wasn't selling anything. So they ran out of cash very fast. And all of this led to the downfall of the app. It became less and less popular. People stopped using it, and eventually it died. There are several interesting business lessons that we can learn from the rise and fall of the app. First of all, if you think about it, it was basically a better version of Twitter. It was basically audio Twitter. And this gives us 2 lessons. Lesson no. 1. Never underestimate the power of simplicity. Clubhouse was super simple. You joined a room, you listened, you could speak up if you wanted to. It was super easy to understand, super easy to jump into a conversation. And second lesson here is that you need to focus on solving a real pain point. Yes, people wanted to use it, and yes, it was fun. But at the end of the day, it didn't solve a real problem. It was just a distraction. So if you want to build something big, you need to solve a real pain point. The next thing that I want to talk about is their marketing strategy, which was basically $0 spent on marketing. They got to where they got without spending any money on marketing. They didn't do paid ads. They didn't do influencer marketing. They didn't do anything. And this is because they had the 3 things that I mentioned before: timing, FOMO, and exclusivity. Those 3 things acted as marketing. But here's the crazy thing. When you spend $0 on customer acquisition, and then you have a huge spike in growth, you're basically sitting on a time bomb, because the moment that those 3 things fade away, you will lose all of your customers. And you won't have any money coming in because you never spent any money on marketing or acquiring customers in the first place. So if you're ever building a business, don't rely on timing, FOMO, and exclusivity to market your product, because the moment those things fade away, you will lose all of your customers. Next up is the whole idea of invite only. It created a sense of scarcity and exclusivity, which drove a lot of growth. But here's the thing, invite only creates a bottleneck. If you have an invite-only product, you gonna now have a hard time scaling because you relying on other people to invite new people. And sure, in the beginning, it can drive a lot of hype. But at some point, you're going to run out of invites, and then you're going to run out of growth. For example, if 10 people each invite 10 friends, you'll have 100 new users. But if those 100 people each invite 10 more friends, you'll have 1,000 new users. And if those 1,000 people each invite 10 more friends, you'll have 1,000 new users. So you can see how it scales exponentially. So if you ever decide to build an invite-only product, keep in mind that it might actually limit your growth. And speaking of growth, one of the most important things that you need to pay attention to when you're running a business is metrics. You need to be tracking the right metrics and paying attention to them. One of the key metrics here would have been daily active users or weekly active users. How many people are actually using the platform? Are those numbers growing or are they declining? Because if they're declining, you know that you're losing interest. Another metric that you should be paying attention to is how many people are leaving the app. How many people are uninstalling it? Because if you start losing users, it's a sign that you need to pivot. And it looks like they didn't pay attention to these metrics, or they didn't have the right team in place to make sure that they can analyze these metrics, because the moment the pandemic ended, they should have known that people were going to go back to their normal lives. They should have known that people were going to stop using the app as much. But either they didn't track the right metrics, or they didn't pay attention to them. Another interesting thing about Clubhouse is that the hosts didn't get paid. They weren't getting paid by Clubhouse, and they weren't getting paid by the advertisers. They were getting paid by their fans directly through a feature called payments, so you could pay your favorite creators. This is a good segue into talking about monetization, because monetization is super hard. Clubhouse didn't really figure it out. They didn't have any ads. They didn't have any premium features. And the only way the creators could get paid was through their fans. And that's not really sustainable. So if you're ever building a platform, think about how you're gonna now make money, because this is one of the biggest challenges that any founder faces. Now, a common argument that people make is that Clubhouse failed because it was only available on iOS. And while this is true, I don't think it was the main reason why it failed. Sure, it limited the number of people who could use the app, but the biggest problem was that it didn't solve a real pain point. People didn't really need Clubhouse. Sure, it was fun. Sure, it was interesting, but they didn't really need it. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't build fun apps or fun products, but if you want to build something big, you need to solve a real problem. You need to build something that people actually need. Fun is great, but it's not enough. If you enjoyed this video, you'll most definitely enjoy this custom playlist that we've made for you, which has some of our best business and investing videos. So check it out. Also, if you want to become a better investor and a better business person, we've got 2 free newsletters that you'll love. The first one is called The Weekly Brief. It is a newsletter that goes out every Sunday, and it has the key events that happened in the world of investing and business last week, explained to you in less than 2 minutes. And the second newsletter is called Investor Letters, which goes out every Friday. It has some of the best quotes from the best investors, letters to shareholders, and it also has some commentary on it. Lastly, make sure that you're subscribed. We've got some amazing videos coming out every single week, and you don't want to miss out. So click the button right there, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.